Hi, Trust Builders. Welcome to another episode of the Trust Builders podcast. Now, if you find yourself being in a sales position or you have to do a lot of business outreach, you will want to listen to today's episode. I get to talk to Rob Durant, who's the founder of Flywheel Results, and he's the author of an amazing book called The Social Enablement Blueprint: Stop Pitching and Start Selling. He is also the co-host of two podcasts, Digital Downloads and Sales TV, and he teaches at the Northeastern University. In today's conversation, Rob is not only sharing the secret to success, yes, you heard that right, but he's also going to walk us through the social selling methodology Ignite and how social selling is different from social enablement, but he will share really truly actionable ways of how to implement that methodology, how to be more approachable, how to be more sociable, and how to be more generous, and in that, building your own network of opportunity. Hi Rob, welcome to Trust Builders. I am really thrilled to have you on today because you were really instrumental in actually getting Trust Builders off the ground.
I'm flattered. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the time.
Awesome. So when I say you were instrumental in getting this off the ground, just as a little background information for anyone listening, I put out a little LinkedIn message asking for some recommendations on software that people like to use to get a podcast going. And through a mutual connection, you were actually really tremendously helpful. You just reached out and you said, hey, you can pick my brain. And I think this kind of behavior, right? What you just did there and how you like to engage with people on social media is exactly what I want to talk about today.
Excellent. I want to pick up on two things really quickly that you said there. First, it was through a mutual connection. And second, it was really just engaging with somebody. I want to plant those seeds because I think we're going to get around to why that's important.
So I want to definitely pick those apart and get really deep into that. But before we go there, your dad was a math teacher.
Yes.
And when anyone checks out your LinkedIn profile or anything about you, the first thing they will actually see is that you describe yourself as, I'm a teacher at the core.
Right.
How has your dad being a teacher influenced sort of your career?
I didn't realize it at the time, but really it's been everything for me. As the son of a math teacher, my dad just always displayed the kinds of and characteristics that I find myself emulating. As I said, I'm a teacher at my core. I want to help. I like to be a helper. I like to help others solve their problems. I like to pitch in where I can. My dad always had that same type of attitude. If I know something that can benefit somebody else, I'm going to share it with them. But when it came time for me to choose a career, he actually discouraged me from going into teaching. And I understood why. It was very difficult for him to raise a family as a teacher, and he didn't want that for me. So instead, I went into business. Everything I've ever done, I found myself gravitating towards helping, mentoring, guiding, leading, training, teaching. In fact, I've even had the opportunity to go into teaching a few times in my career now. So everything stems from the model that he set before me. And I don't think that he ever did that intentionally. He was just being him.
Was he a strict math teacher?
Oh my gosh, no. I loved the learning from him. When I had the opportunity to go into the classroom, he taught me two things. First, you don't have to know the whole book. Just stay one page ahead of your students. That was an incredible relief for me. The second thing that he taught me and that I bring into the classroom when I am teaching is that nobody who shows up and puts in the work, nobody who tries will ever fail his class Therefore, nobody who tries will ever fail my class. Now, you might not get the A plus, but if you are there and you are trying and you can show effort and show learning, then of course you're going to pass. And of course you're going to get the grade reflective of the efforts.
There's one other thing that you're sharing with your students as a marketing professor, and
Yes.
that is you figured out the secret to success. And I promise I won't share it outside of this, but can you share the secret to success with us?
So imagine this. You're a college freshman, probably about 19 years old, and everything you've ever done to get to this point has been all about studying and grades and SATs and ACTs and all of these tests and exams and extracurriculars. The professor says, I'm going to tell you the secret to success. Half of the class is going to lean in, the other half isn't going to believe you. But I like to share it with them anyway. The secret to success is not about what you know. Now, they've just spent the last 19 years preparing everything about what I know. And I just said those 19 years are for naught. A little frustrated. Don't worry about it. They're rolling their eyes and saying, oh, I know what's coming. But the secret to success is not just about who you know either. A little bit of relief. I hate nepotism. I hate the good old boys network just as much as the next person. The secret to success is about who knows you for what you know. Your goal then is to make sure more and more people know you for what you want to be known for.
So I've read that in your book that we're going to discuss in a second. And that, like, I read it on Friday, and that really stuck with me over the weekend. And I really thought about that over the weekend. And there's so much truth in it because, yeah, have people succeeded by knowing certain people? Yeah, some have. Have people succeeded by knowing what other people might not know? Or, yes, a lot of this is dependent on luck. But if you
Sure.
are really able to get in front of people and have them know you for what you want them to know you for, you get to own that conversation. You get to drive your own success, and you don't have
Absolutely.
to wait for success to happen to you.
I like that you use the word luck. Do you know what the definition of the word luck is? Luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. You cannot control opportunity. That's the lucky part, but you can control preparation. So if more and more people know you for what you want to be known for, there's more opportunity for opportunity. And it's not one or the other because you could know everything. But if nobody knows you know it, do you know anything? You can't prove it. You could know everyone. But if you're not somebody worth knowing because you know nothing, there's no point in that either. So it takes both of those elements. While I cannot control opportunity directly, I can prepare for it. And that's the idea behind all of this.
That makes sense. All right, so I've teased your book enough now. Let's just quickly have a look at it. So the book is entitled The Social Enablement Blueprint, but I really like the sort of little tagline: "Stop pitching, start selling." And one of my absolute biggest pet peeves is just that, right? But before we really dive into what the book is about, you wrote the book for a reason.
Yes.
And that is because buying behavior has drastically changed in the last, I would say, probably more so since 2020. Can
Mhm.
you walk us through what has changed and what can someone recognize that change on in their own business?
So, a couple of things to unpack there. First of all, even if a seller still behaving the way sellers behaved 10 years ago, that doesn't mean that they don't believe that buying has changed.
Mhm.
That simply means that they don't know any better way to do it. What has changed? I don't know that it has overnight changed. Dan Pink in To Sell is Human talks about selling 1.0 and the imbalance of information. There was a time when the sellers knew more than the buyers. So the sellers had an advantage. The buyers had to go through them to learn about everything. Lo and behold, the internet and everything you could ever want to know about something is out there. Not only is everything you could want to know about something out there, but so are the opinions of third parties, your network, or complete strangers. Amazon has a rating system, 500 reviews, and of them are 5 stars and 250 of them are 1 stars. There's really never much in between. But you are going to go to the internet and you're going to read these reviews and you're going to believe the reviews of that affirm what you wanted to believe to begin with. You're not going to believe the seller. So what has changed? The access to the information, the amount of information, and our faith in that has continually grown such that we don't need sellers. And simultaneously, we've been burned by enough sellers that we just stop believing all of them. And we're tired of being pitched all the time. We're just frustrated with the whole process. Now, add to that, nobody wants to make the wrong buying decision. Jobs are on the line. Now more so than ever. It's very challenging in the marketplace. Keep your job or, heaven forbid, work to land a new job. So you don't want to make the mistake of buying the wrong thing. Better to buy nothing than to buy the wrong thing. So these are the headwinds that sellers are going into. The marketplace continues to evolve. I have all sorts of statistics, but if you don't believe it from your gut, the statistics won't matter. And the way that buyers are approaching the marketplace is continuing to evolve. Sellers know in their gut that they need to evolve as well, but nobody's telling them how or what, let alone addressing why.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I had recently a salesperson call me up from one of my clients and say, "Hey, I'm sending thousands of emails, but I know this is not working, but I just don't know what else to do." So
Right.
yeah, it's so. Now let's have a look at your book. The whole book is based on the Ignite methodology. For
Correct.
someone that hasn't heard about the Ignite methodology, can you just walk us briefly through what it is and why you chose to base your book around that?
First of all, I want to explain the term social enablement.
Mhm.
The Ignite sales methodology is a sales social selling methodology, balked at the term social selling because Ignite is so much different from every other form of social selling that's out there. And you've alluded to it. Social selling for most people these days is cringe. It's that connect and pitch, or as we like to joke, the pitch slap. Ignite and social enablement is the exact opposite of that. In fact, with Ignite, we don't pitch at all. And yet we get 30% more revenue, 40% faster. How can you possibly do that? How can you, without pitching, sell more and sell faster? But it's exactly because we don't pitch that we are able to do that. The Ignite methodology is built upon 3 basic tenets: be approachable, be sociable, and be generous. 6 words. That's it. Nowhere is it the ABCs that you might have seen in Glengarry Glen Ross. Always be closing. No, always be connecting. Always be communicating. Always be sociable. So with those 3 tenets, the first one is be approachable. Have an online presence that reflects your in-person presence. If you went to a networking event in person, you would want to say something like, "Hi, I'm Rob." You would hear somebody say, "Tell me about you, Rob. Let me tell you about my product." You would never do that. Sure, I'm the son of a math teacher. I've worked in education. I've worked in Fortune 50 organizations, and I've worked with tech startups. I love working with tech startups, and so on and so forth. And so the conversation goes. Your online presence, and this isn't simply on LinkedIn. In the book, we talk a lot about LinkedIn simply because that's where the majority of our clients are based, because that's where the majority of their clients are based. But this translates across any social platform, and it works best when integrated across many. Have a profile, shows the genuine you. And sometimes we hear, especially about LinkedIn, this isn't Facebook. You're going to get your naysayers no matter what. Good. Those aren't people that want to connect with you anyway. We ignore them because we want to talk to the people who want to talk with us. And that's the second step. Be sociable. You need to work on your network, both in person and online. Most of us, our online network is made up of friends and family and colleagues from our current employer and previous employers. What are you doing to intentionally build that network and intentionally build it with others in your field? Intentionally build it with people working at your ideal target audience. Intentionally build it with people in roles that you would like to speak with. So you are proactive in your efforts to connect with others. Will everybody accept a connection request from you? No. And that's okay too, because our guard is up. We're waiting for that pitch slap. And when it doesn't come, because all you do is sociably, they're pleasantly surprised. Ideally, you turn that online conversation into a direct conversation. And from there, you get to know them for what they want to be known for. And in turn, they get to know you for what you want to be known for. And if you have a plan in place to do that regularly, building your network with intention, as we talked about earlier, more opportunity begets more opportunity. And then the third part is be generous. Give before you ask. Gary Vee talks about it in his book, Jab, Left Hook. He says, give value, then ask. Putting content out there should not be just, hey, look at me. This is me winning this award. These are some accolades. It should not simply be, hey, this is me. This is my stuff. Want to buy some? It should be, I'm in this industry. Here's something from the industry that I heard about, I read about, whatever. Let me share it with you. I think it's important for you to see it because this, that, or the other, and that's where you add your input. So you're starting conversations and contributing to the value of your network, not because you have this tremendous goal of being what I like to call a capital I influencer. There's only so much room for capital I influencers. And capital I influencers are generally involved in one-way speak. I put that message out. I really don't hear from them. Even lowercase I micro-influencers generally do a lot of one-way conversation. I'm talking more about connecting and then having influence. If you have more of those one-on-one conversations, if people start to recognize you for the authority that you have in your industry, that will eventually lead to influence that leads to those sales that you've been craving. But isn't that time consuming? Isn't that long and tedious and no promise at the end? I contend that cold outreach is long and tedious and no promise at the end. The numbers that we thought used to work for cold outreach don't work in the way that they did before. Isn't it time to try something different? Rather than pitching to everyone, where most of us just don't need your stuff, what's another way of going about it? I'd like to share this. It is a commonly accepted fact that at any given time, 5% of your total addressable market, that is 5% of everyone who could possibly want to buy what you have to sell, are in the market, that is ready, willing, seeking to buy what you have to sell. If 5% is in the market for what you have to sell, and there are 5 competitors, let's just say the market is evenly distributed, percent. And that's with 5 competitors. What about when there's 20? Or I've seen some depictions of MarTech software with 1,200 different vendors. What about 95% who are not in market? Right now, every marketing message out there, every cold pitch out there is going to that 5%. Thank you very much. I'll talk to the 20 larger audience who is not currently in the market. I'll make sure that they know me for what I want to be known for. I'll make sure that I know them for what they want to be known for. And I will generously help in ways that I can. Oh, I don't have the answer to that question, but I was just speaking with this person over there. And you might want to speak with them. That's how we got connected, because you put it out there that you had this question. A mutual connection said, oh, this person has the answer. And we struck up a conversation. And I said, yeah, here are some of the things that I've learned. And that was it. Now I know you for what you want to be known for. You know me for what I want to be known for. And we're working together to continue to facilitate that. I haven't asked you to buy anything, have I? And you haven't asked me to buy anything either. Yet we are working together to ensure each of us is successful. That's what I mean by being generous, being sociable, and being approachable.
So I'm furiously taking some notes because there's tons of follow-up questions. We won't get to all of them today, but let's just start back at the top. If we are thinking about being approachable, I think it's a really good tip to think of yourself in the actual face-to-face. How would you introduce yourself? And that your online should reflect who you truly are. Can you give us a few practical tips in terms of how, like the do's and don'ts of that? I think
Sure,
that would make it a little bit more plastic.
absolutely. Let me start with this, though. If you ask 100 people to review your resume, for example, you will get 120 different opinions. Mine is but one opinion. Mine is typically counter to what a lot of quote unquote gurus will share, or quote unquote thought leaders. Take it with a grain of salt. If it works for you, go for it. If it doesn't, that's okay. All I can tell you is I'm comfortable with it for me. So
Mhm.
in that way, it works for me. Let's take a look at your profile and your Twitter profile. I'm still not used to calling it X. It should have a headshot. It should be just you, and it should be a friendly picture of you. Color or black and white, I don't care. You do you. It just shouldn't have you and a bunch of others, because I want to recognize you for
Mhm.
you. The picture, the headshot should be the same picture across platforms, because people who are trying to connect with you are going to connect with you across platforms. Your headline, by default on LinkedIn, your headline is your job title at your listed employer. Okay. But there are literally millions of account executives, CEOs, and everything in between. Use that space to be just a little bit different. On Twitter, X, that is referred to as the bio. and you have 160 characters to list your bio. Who could possibly summarize their entire biography in 160 characters? Let's instead use this space, create a little bit more opportunity. And while you have more space on LinkedIn, more than 160 characters, it's approximately 200 characters. Typically, 50 to 60 of those characters show up when you post something or comment on a post. The rest get truncated, and I can only see the full list when I click on your profile. So now I have 50 to 60 characters to tell everyone everything they need to know about me. Ain't gonna happen. But here's what I want you to know about me. At my core, I'm a teacher at heart. I'm very good at the middle of conversations, and I'm not nearly as athletic as I remember being. So I want you to know what I want you to know about me right up front. I want to maybe leave something that you might ask about. What do you mean you're good at the middle of conversations? I'm so glad you asked. And then I don't mind a little self-depreciating humor. I'm going to be 54 this week. And in my mind, I'm still 24, evidenced by me trying to change tires over the weekend and laid up with my sore back for the next 3 days. I'm older than I remember being. That's very different from founder at Flywheel Results. But I want everyone to know I'm a founder. It's on my profile. It's a great ego boost, but it does nothing to drive the curious to ask me more. I'm not very curious. I don't want to know more about you. Then you're not the one I'm targeting with it. But the ones who do want to inquire about it, the ones that do want to have a conversation, those are the people that it will land with. I cannot possibly everyone happy. So I have to make myself happy, and I have to be able to reach those that are more like me than those that aren't. So that's the formula that works for me. Could it be something else? Sure. All sorts of gurus out there will tell you, you should put what you're passionate about as your headline. I am passionate about helping the HR software and enterprise organizations. Sure you are. You're the
Because
first
that's what you
person.
wake up thinking
Yeah,
every single morning when you get out of bed.
exactly. You would be the first person that I encountered that was truly passionate about that. You are passionate about the impact that has for you. Maybe generously, you're passionate about the impact that has for others, but I contend that you're not passionate about the enterprise software itself. So let's figure out what you are passionate about and share more of that. That's just an example of how you can have your profile, again, across platforms, reflect you and the kinds of people that you hope to engage with.
Awesome. No, that's really very actionable. So let's move on to the second one. You said that be sociable. And what you mentioned there is really intentionally building who you want to be known to for what
Correct.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I create, I don't know if you recommend using like something like Sales Navigator, but let's say I every week make it a point to reach out to, I don't know, 5 to 10 people that I really would like to get to know, work with, connect with, etc. Now, here's the hard part. Because people are so skeptic, because they have every single time they hit the accept connection, they gotta pitch slapped, right?
Right.
So what do I tell them? What do I say in that first message to be like, should I just be straight on and say, I won't pitch to you, but I really truly like, there has to be some genuine, and again, we're talking about a very short message that we're allowed to send,
Right.
but we have to walk that fine balance of genuinely making a connection with someone we haven't really met yet. How do we do that?
You're spot on. First of all, we haven't met them, and their guard is up. You should send a connection request, not an in-mail. And with a connection request, You are limited to 200 characters if you're using the free version of LinkedIn, or up to 300 characters if you're using one of the paid versions. Even at 300 characters, that's not a lot of space. And they want to know, why in the world should I choose to connect with you? Let them know why. You mentioned, should I tell them I'm not going to pitch? That is one approach. Absolutely. But that's still maybe leaving them answering why. So let me ask you, why do you want to connect with them? I
Because
don't
Rob
want to
said so.
sell them. Yeah, because Rob said so. Because they're part of your ideal target audience? No, ideal target network. What value do you bring to them for you being part of their network? I reach out to a lot of people in sales enablement because that's much of my background. We're both in sales enablement. I thought it would be great to connect, to exchange great ideas. Some will accept, some will ignore it. You should not expect 100% of those connection requests to be accepted. The earth has been scorched before us. So what you need to do is figure out what message is working for you, which seems to be generating more connection acceptances than others. I'm not buying anything, I'm not selling anything, thought it would be good to connect. Some will be content with that. We're both in sales enablement, thought it would be good to connect. Some will care. You can personalize each and every one. Hey, I saw you went to this school, I went to this school, let's connect. That doesn't work on me personally, but for some it matters. There is no silver bullet, are no words. What you have to do is continually seek your own voice and
Hmm.
then go with what is working for you.
And yeah, you be you, right?
Exactly.
Um, so let's say the connection request has been accepted. What's the next step? Obviously, not pitching. That much we know. But what is the next thing that you do? I hate this. What are you working on today? I don't know. Why do you want to know? Maybe it's my German skepticism coming through, but what is your agenda? What have you found that is showing that you're genuinely wanting to connect and to be contributing value? Because you can only contribute value to the other person if they let you, right? If they start a conversation with you.
I want to pick up on that. If they start a conversation with you, ideally, yes, when they start a conversation with you, you run with it. How do I start a conversation with somebody who hasn't shown an interest in conversation? Maybe you don't. With that connection request, you simply reply, thank you. Thanks for connecting. I look forward to seeing more of what you do. And then as they are posting content and you are engaging with it, maybe the opportunity to message them directly presents itself. Maybe not. Maybe it is still more give. You've connected with somebody. In my case, I've connected with somebody because we're both in sales enablement. And a couple of weeks has gone by, and I haven't heard from them since my message that said thank you. But today I'm going to post something specifically about sales enablement that I believe many in sales enablement will find helpful. What if the message is, don't know if you saw this in your feed, I posted this today, thought it might be helpful for you. Posted this in my feed, thought it might be helpful for you. What are your thoughts on it? If they engage, great. If not, they didn't. At some point, it's try and make a point to get to know each of my connections. Are you open to having a 20-minute call? Now, you're right. Their guard is still up. I don't have time for 20-minute chats with everyone in my network. And I certainly don't want to be pitched. Again, not everyone is going to engage. That's a shame, but that's the reality. The ones you want to speak with are the ones who want to speak with you. And that's why I go back to having that approachable profile. They are determining whether or not they want to have that call with you based on the footprints that you've left. Was every post that you made, here's my stuff, buy some? Is your profile all about your latest product release? They know that if they took that 20-minute call with you, it was a pitch. But if it's the complete opposite of that, if it's just you behaving in a professional environment, some will take you up on that. And while you'd love for all of them to take you up on it, that's not reasonable. The number of people that will take you up on that exceeds the number of people that would take you up on that if you were doing cold calling and cold emailing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, let's get to the last one, be generous. And there's a lot of gurus out there that say, oh, you have to post at least 5 times a week and you have to do X, Y, and Z and have your latest blog post turned into a LinkedIn carousel. There's so many things you should be doing. That's all you could be doing all day long.
Sure.
How long, like how many minutes do you personally or do you recommend to your clients recommend that they are being generous? Like how much of your time and effort are you dedicating coming back to the just give is all good and we should be generous. I'm a solopreneur, so I can't be nonstop giving. I really want to, but sometimes I just feel like I'm getting burnt out because that's all I do. So what is the good balance there?
So many thoughts come to mind. Yes, you're right. Some gurus will say post every day, post multiple times a day, and so on. First and foremost, I do not chase the algorithm. That's a personal choice of mine. I choose not to because it's a dirty secret. The algorithm will always be ahead of you. It will always win. And you can get caught up chasing this latest trend and miss out on sales opportunities because you were more worried about number. I also tell my clients the worst thing that could possibly happen to you is to go viral. You do not want to go viral. There's no money in it. And when you go viral, that means your message is reaching an audience further and further from your core audience. You cannot possibly keep up with all of the comments. You cannot possibly respond to all of the messages. And they're not really your ideal prospect anyway. Better to have 5 exchanges with people that really understand you, your industry, and the message you're trying to convey than 500,000 strangers seeing your stuff. And it all comes down to this. Find a cadence that works for you. Posting once a month might work for you, but remember when we talked about opportunity begetting more opportunity, that's probably not going to be enough opportunity. Posting daily seems a great way to have more and more opportunity, but it's unwieldy for many. A cadence that you can get comfortable with. And then as you get better at it, build on it. If you can post twice a week to start, fantastic. Try and do that. If you can then turn it into 3 times a week, you've just increased your output by 50%. In every day, some business development must fall. If you can dedicate 15 to 20 minutes a day, every day, towards business development, sometimes that's creating posts. Sometimes that's outreach to new connections, whatever the case may be. But if you start your day with the Brian Tracy book, Eat That Frog, with the things that are maybe hardest for you, the things that you just are not comfortable with, but you spend 15 to 20 minutes a day at the start of your day doing your business development by way of social outreach, and then go on with your day, you're better off than not having done it at all. And you're most definitely better off than having done it for 8 hours one day a week. And the last bit that I want to share with you regarding content and being generous is, unlike what every other guru tells you. This is not an inbound play. Content is not an inbound play. It is not, I post this, somebody says, oh, that's exactly what I need. Here's my credit card. Content is setting the foundation for your outbound. As I had alluded to earlier, when you make that outbound connection request, people come to your profile and they see what you're posting and talking about and determine whether or not you're worth being in their network. So if it's, here's my stuff, you want to buy some, or here's me and my latest conquering triumph, or here's something that people in my industry might find helpful, you've made the act of making the decision of that connection request that much easier for them either way.
Really great tips. Awesome. So let's finish this up. I always really like to, I have a few books behind me, but I have way more in front of me because I really get a lot of joy in looking at books and reading books. So I always ask my guests, what is a book that they've read in the last 6 to 12 months that really has impacted their life? Do you have one?
I do. In fact, I have it handy. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You can tell by the sticky notes and the dog-eared pages, I'm going through it again because he really set the foundation for what we teach in social enablement. Now, some people balk at the title, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because you're judging his title of 85 years ago against our understanding of those words today. And yes, even some of the things that he suggests in that book are dated and outdated. But at its very core, he talks about being approachable, being sociable, and being generous. And reading through it again, it was just a helpful reminder for me. Build on the shoulders of the giants who came before us.
Awesome. It's definitely a phenomenal classic that is definitely worth reading. Now, to finish this off, do you have a topic that gets you really worked up that you can rant about for 60 seconds?
I do.
What gets you really fired up?
I really frustrated when those capital I influencers, those gurus, espouse the latest and greatest approaches to being great, and they speak of things as though it were fact. I prefaced everything I said here today with, this is what is most comfortable for me, this is what works for me, your mileage may vary. I do not contend that I have the action plan for everyone. And it really angers me when others either directly say as much or at least allude to it. I will tell you that those who work with us, as I mentioned earlier, see 30% more revenue, percent faster. But remember, they've also self-selected in. They're the ones that have said, you know what? The way Rob talks about this outreach and so on really resonates with me more so than what the old playbooks sound like. I do not contend that it will work for everyone. I do not tell you to stop making cold calls. I just tell you don't cold call me because it won't work on me. And more people are saying don't cold call me because it won't work on me. Eventually, you're going to seek another solution. And when you're ready for that, I will have that for you. But not because I'm a guru, not because I'm a micro influencer or a capital I influencer, just because I've been able to connect with others that think and act the way I act.
For anyone listening to this and thinking to themselves, man, this really resonates with me, how would they get in touch with you?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn, Rob Durant. I am the founder of Flywheel Results. So my website is flywheelresults.com. My email is rob at flywheelresults.com. And also in support of the Social Enablement Blueprint, see more about that book, and you can reach out to me at socialenablement.pro.
Okay. And of course, shameless
And of
plug
course,
here
the
again, not
book.
that I'm getting commission, but you can also buy the book on Amazon. Definitely worth a read here. Rob, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining, for sharing so generously your insights, your experience, your expertise. We truly appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.